Welcome to Two Coaches. I'm Travis. This is Baja. Today we have a special guest, Nick DiSomma, who I grew up playing with, kind of. He's younger than me. But Nick, welcome on the vlog, and tell us about where you played.
Yeah, so like you said, I grew up in this area. Played with you in high school for a few years. I played at FC Copa for my club days for a while there. And then went on. I was fortunate enough to play in college at Duquesne University out in Pittsburgh in the Atlantic 10 Conference. A smaller school, one of those like mid-majors, I guess if you want to kind of equate it to basketball there. But definitely played against a lot of top 10 ranked teams in the nation. Got a lot of exposure that way.
Who was the best team you played against?
Cal Berkeley, my sophomore year. Cal Berkeley, my sophomore year, they whooped us. It was like 4-1. They had 3 guys go in the top 5 in the draft that year.
Wow.
So that was that. We played Georgetown the year after they were national finalists. So that was a pretty cool experience too. A few of those guys got drafted that year as well. So definitely played with and against a lot of good players.
Okay, so we're talking, and I guess we should focus a little bit more on the top level because that's what we have here. Our topic is about playing with players that you don't like, playing with players that you don't get along with. We've all probably been there. I know Nick and I definitely have some stories. But what are your thoughts, Baja? Playing with players you don't like, how do you feel about it?
You know, I'm definitely a coach that kind of like cracks down on players that might always complain about little things. You know, I don't mind players sometimes like bumping heads, but you know, if I have a player that's always complaining about every small detail that
like what? Like give me an example of a small detail.
Like
because I think I would go the other way sometimes. Like when we had Joey here, Joey was very, very picky about small details.
Right.
But it also led to his success. Right?
Yeah,
so
but,
like,
but
what
it
if
makes
you're
you
talking
wonder.
about a player like
it makes
that?
you wonder if he could have had a higher success. You know what I mean? And I think that
well, he thinks he was held back. He thinks he could have had a higher success if coaches were more accepting of that.
Which is an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
The same way saying that yours is.
Right, exactly. And it's a gray area. I just feel like as a player, you know, you really need to worry about yourself more. Like if you go to, even if you go to a tryout, for example, you're never going to grill another player for the simple fact that you're worried about yourself. If you have a very good competitive atmosphere, and it's not the players that are just competitive, as a coach, you're creating a very competitive atmosphere where anyone could lose their spot on any given day.
Right.
I think the players would be and should be more inclined to care about their own play. You know, so like when I had teammates that were just like screaming at me and stuff, and I'm just thinking like, worry about yourself. Like,
pass the ball.
Pass the ball was a common one.
That's what he always heard.
But you know what? Like, if I really am doing something wrong, like, don't worry, I'm not gonna get to play next game. Like, literally, just worry about yourself. You try to get better because at the end of the day,
what about when you're playing like a 6v6 or a small sided game? And for me, I was a center back, and I have midfielders, forwards, whatever, who aren't doing the work in front of me. That's making me look bad.
Right.
So
but what kind of work though?
An
example for like.
So if they're not putting the work in defensively. Their attitudes in general are lazy.
Like they're not getting back, for example.
Not getting back. That makes me look bad. So
right.
Why not get on them?
Right, and I think that's a great example. But that's 6v6 in training, right?
Right.
Would you say like you trust your coach in that situation to A, for him to get on that player, and B, for him to not play that player in a game now because of what just happened?
I think.
Hold on. In that situation, would you trust your coach? Because if the answer is no, then you're 100% right, and that's where the issue is.
But
the coach should have that responsibility.
But the coach has that responsibility, but you also have a responsibility as a player to manage that part as well. Like the coach, you have, how many players do you have in training? You know, like maybe you have 2 6v6 games going on. You have like, you know, whatever your coaching staff is. If 2 people are making a mistake at the same time and he catches one of them and the coach catches the other, like does the coach just let that go and he has to let that mistake go? I mean, like there's a
In all fairness, I mean, you literally picked a scenario where it's like kind of rare that the same thing happens.
No, I don't think so. I think it's common.
Let's say it is common. Let's say it is common, right?
It is common.
All right, it's common. The issue is, well, not the issue, the solution is, if a player doesn't get back and they're lazy, let's say, whatever it is, that's going to happen more than one time. Because if it only happened once, he probably wouldn't flip out. It's going to happen again and again. So as a coach, you're gonna see that anyway. So to go against your argument there, you're going to catch both sides.
Well, you were a midfielder forward.
I was a midfield forward as well.
So did you guys always all the time get back, or were you guys more, I know you like to dribble a lot, you like to be on the ball?
Same.
Okay, so did you guys always put in the work defensively?
I didn't want to, but like I wouldn't have gotten any playing time if I didn't sprint my butt back.
I
every
know
time.
this is gonna sound like I'm just like totally supporting my side, but genuinely, the times that I got back and did it was because my teammates made me do it.
Mine
my
was
teammates
because
made
my
me do it.
coach made me do it, and again, like that's that difference I'm talking about.
I don't know,
See,
man.
yeah,
Nick,
I played with a lot of coaches who definitely favored the guy who was more skilled. You know,
Right.
they wanted the offensively skilled, let the defenders defend, let them do their job to a point. But if they were the best player, the best guy on the ball, they were still going to play, even if they didn't really put that work in. And yeah, that could be definitely a coaching thing that you got to
Right.
manage a little better. But the truth of reality is that a lot of managers don't do this.
yeah.
Right, and that is, and I think that's why that culture is now becoming the norm, where players get on each other and whatnot, because
think
I
it
don't think the
was the
coach,
norm.
but it shouldn't. But I'm saying is like it shouldn't be the coach. I would not feel comfortable ripping that player because he already ripped on him. I'm not gonna let that player get ripped twice in a row. You know what I mean? Like I would rather have the responsibility. Right, and you might not mind that, but then you're destroying that player's mentality. Is my point. Like I would.
We're
much
talking
rather,
about high level.
doesn't
I'm not talking about
high level or not though. A player needs a certain level of confidence at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what level you're playing.
Well, I think they have the confidence. I mean, because again, we're talking, higher level.
We're talking about he played at Duquesne, right?
Right.
We're talking about when we played together, even though it was high school soccer. I don't think
You're
there's
both
any
very
di-
competitive
I don't.
still, right?
I don't think that there's any disputing. Like we had one of the best teams
Right.
of our time in the state
Right.
because we all played at a high level. PDA, FC Copa,
Right.
TSF, all the top clubs at that time were in our team. So we talk about our training sessions. Me and Nick got into it big time. Big time. I mean, like, we were pulled apart. I know there was
Yeah.
a bunch of times that, like, we took it too far, probably. At least I did. We took it too far
too.
after the fact, and, like, the next day was fine.
Or
But-
the moment really, if you can keep it on the field, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
I mean, you can play with guys that you don't like. It's not that I didn't like you. Maybe there's certain things about your game I didn't like, or certain things that you did in practice that day I didn't like.
Right.
But hey, the moment the cleats come off and we're off the field, it's all
Yeah,
good. You keep those on the field because you both know that it's competitive. You can get stuck in on challenges with each other. You can get in each other's face because you're just trying to get each other better, trying to
And
get
the
each other more
bottom- and the-
competitive.
And what was your relationship like when that happened, for example, between each other? Were you guys friends at the time?
I
Did
don't.
you guys hate each
Me
other?
and Nick, and probably almost every player that I had disagreements with, never had a problem off the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
Not
once.
at all.
Not once. But we also, it goes back to one of the other topics that we've done before. I felt very confident that I could get on him and that he could get on me. And we would butt heads and argue, and sometimes it would get nasty. But he would do it to me, and I knew it, whether I agreed with it or not. Like what he was saying was where the arguments come in. But I knew he wasn't telling me because it was like an ego and he just didn't like me. You know,
Right.
whether he liked me or not was irrelevant. He was telling me because he thought that was the right thing to do to make me better, to make the team better. The same I would tell him. Like he was very demanding on me, just like everyone else was defensively, because that was not my game. So I needed that. People needed to stay on me about that. But attacking, when he gave the ball away, it drove me nuts.
Right.
Because I want the ball. We need the ball to get forward and score goals. So if he's coming out of the back and makes a lazy pass, I'm on him.
Right.
So yes, he misplaces a pass. Does he know he made a mistake? Yeah. But I want him to know my standards. Do you know what I mean? Like I think the team every player should know each other's standards. You should know my standards. I should know his standards.
But you know what? And you're gonna disagree with me right now, but and
Of course.
I agree with
Of course I am.
I understand and I agree with what you're saying.
I don't
But
think
you
do.
keep saying no, because you keep
Your
saying
voice is getting higher, and I feel like that's like you're getting to.
because
you don't.
you keep saying he should know my standards. He should know my standards. Not once right now have you mentioned the team standards. If
But
the
it goes
coach,
by it goes by the team standards. The entire thing goes by the team standards.
right. So if the coach should be dictating those standards and emphasizing on it and pointing out those mistakes and getting on players if he needs to. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like if he was doing that and you were worrying more about yourself,
I agree.
it could have been a better season.
No,
But you can't disprove that. You know what I mean? It's an opinion.
you can't
You could
prove
say that
it either.
Exactly. I mean, you could say we had our best season because of that, and I can say you didn't have it as best as you could have because of it. Like it goes either way because we don't know. There's no alternate universe where we could find out. But my point is, like right now you're talking. Not once did the coach's standard was mentioned at all.
Right, because we're not talking about coaches. We're talking about playing with a player that you
Right.
didn't like. If we were talking about coaching, then it's a different talk.
Yeah, but what
we're
I'm
talking
saying
about
is-
being a player,
Right.
dealing with players that you don't like.
And we did
If-
kind of go off topic because we went from, is it okay to now argue in practice versus how
well,
do you
no,
deal with a
but
player you
because
don't like?
because it has to be like, if I didn't like Nick, I still have to be able to argue with him and handle it the same as if I did like him. And I think that's where me and Nick agree with, like, whether you like a player or you don't like a player, it's business on the field. You have to be professional about that at every level.
Well, playing at a higher level, you know what I mean? Like, how would you say? I'm sure you had players that you definitely did not get along with, right?
Right.
Do you
It's
feel
like,
like?
yes.
Of course, it's
Definitely.
natural, though, right?
Sure.
Do you feel like that had a negative impact on your game, or were you able to kind of deal with it in a positive way?
My game, personally, I would if go back to like the 66 example,
Of course.
and I'm playing against a player I don't like, that heightens my competitiveness that much more.
Right, I think if
because
it's on the
I don't
other
wanna-
team,
I don't
right.
want to.
Nick drops bodies.
And
Right.
hey, when it comes down to it, I'm not looking to hurt anyone, but I'm not going to shy away from a tackle, especially on that player if I don't like him.
What if that was your teammate?
It
Like-
is his
And I'm-
teammate.
No, I'm
on
saying
the
like
same 66 team.
right on the same 6.
Then at that point, I gotta.
He has his back.
I
Yeah,
got
but
his back.
do you sometimes? You could be honest here too. But do you sometimes hope that he would screw up, so that he looks bad?
No, because I mean, me personally, in the end, my goal is to win.
To win that 66,
yeah,
right?
that 66. I just wanted to win, and then again, if we lose or we get goals, especially as a defender, that makes me.
So he
that
makes a
much worse.
mistake. You're playing with him. You don't want him to look as bad now. You got to cover up for him. You're totally okay with that, even though you don't like that.
Yeah.
play.
Also, yeah, I still got to cover up for him. He's still my teammate, in this situation. But I might get on him a little bit extra. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely a sense of, I don't want favoritism or bias that you have toward, certain teammates.
Yeah.
That if you respect them more, hey, it might be a little calmer of a conversation. Whereas if it's like continuing that what this player does, that you might really be a little more concerned with.
let's not get it twisted, because soccer and sports in general are emotional.
Of course, it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So the balancing the professionalism with that stuff comes along with some type of emotion.
Right.
It's not an emotionless thing. You're not totally, especially in the moment. If we're playing 6v6 and I don't get back to defend, or I don't do my job, maybe the coach does say something, but he's going to say something too, because in that moment when he's angry and he's like, you should
Right,
have done
he should
this,
express
he's
himself.
gonna say something.
Well, let me.
You have to be, and you have to, I think, be able to, and like we said before, I have to be able to hear it. Then after he yells at me, whatever, if I'm the type of person that's a little bit softer mentally, maybe you come up to me after practice and you go, listen, my bad for getting on you the way that I did, but this was my point. But you still have to be able to do it in that moment, whether you like them or don't like them. It's business on the field, period. I think that you need to be able, like is your stance that no player can ever say anything to another player for making a mistake?
No, I never said that.
Because it seems like it to me.
No, I just
Like,
I
when
would
when is it okay for a player to say something to another player about making a mistake then?
I'm not, because I wouldn't want to be a hypocrite as a coach either. Like as a player, I was actually one of the screamers sometimes, So, but I got to see.
That's how it works out, though,
Right,
isn't
but
it?
but I think you got to learn from it as well. Like I kind of saw the negative consequences from it. I think that players now that
Maybe
was like,
you're a
yep.
pessimist.
No, I think players that now didn't want to be yelled at, you can say, weren't playing to the level that I think they could have been had I not reacted certain ways. I think
I don't know, man. I see it
there
as
were balls that I didn't get from defenders that I think they could have. It would have been a little risky because the forward from the other team might have stolen that pass, but they would have rather played it safe now and playing maybe like a longer ball where they didn't want to let me exploit the space that I could go into, because they're like, crap, if I lose the ball, this guy's gonna scream his head off at me again. And I think that I might have held other players back.
Soft.
But you know what?
player.
That's just a different. No, but that's different
but it's
people.
But it's a weak
Not-
mentally.
We had this conversation before that not
Yeah,
everyone
it's-
should have the same mentality.
That's fine,
know
but
what I mean?
that is a weak
I think
mentality.
certain players,
If you're afraid,
like sounds like Nick, I could totally yell at him. He can yell at me, and it's fine. But there are players
I
that
agree
if I
with you,
yell
but
at,
fear
they're gonna
is a
shut
weak
down.
mentality. And
We
this
talked
is
about this with Messi before. I don't want to get into it, but like Messi.
no, I'm not. We're not talking about Messi. So my thing is that is a weak mentality, 100%. Because fear in a game is a weak mentality.
Right.
If you're afraid to make mistakes, that's weak. That's weak-minded.
Okay, but if everyone's getting on you, I think that's totally that's human nature.
But then you get on the player and you see how he reacts and you think it's negative. That's an opportunity to learn from them. Now put your arm around that guy at the end and don't be yelling at him. It's a learning experience.
Right.
You don't know to not yell at somebody before you do it.
I'm so glad you said that. But as a player, usually, in that moment, you're not going to recognize.
In the moment,
You're not
you
going to
won't.
recognize.
In
but
the
even
moment, you won't.
after,
But
you
that's
because you're
where
young,
coaching.
you're not going to
But
recognize.
that's where coaching.
And that's
comes
why I
in.
said from the beginning, the coach should be setting those standards.
But you don't not yell at them though.
So a quick story, kind of related to this. I'm a player I played with for a year, and then he ended up transferring out. Tomas DeVillardi, he actually just got drafted by Minnesota in this year's expansion draft.
Minnesota.
Yeah, he's not too excited to be out there in the cold. But anyway, so he was the type of player. He's extremely talented. He's easily the most technically gifted player on our team, right? The kid was phenomenal, and
Right.
he transferred out, and it's like you couldn't even blame him because he
was such a
he
talented
was just
player.
such a talented player, and to go to Delaware after Duquesne, he had a better chance to get drafted, right? So him and I were guys that butted heads. He was competitive, but he was a little more that softer mentality. I kind of noticed at first, but I kind of still got on him a lot.
Right.
Just because he was so technically gifted and a good player, but he would get his head down if he was frustrated, and he wouldn't put the work in. It was frustrating to be on his team. So anyway, after we knew he was transferring, we were all together as a team, and he came up to me one day and he said thank you. And I was like, well, what's that for? He's like for always getting on me all those times at practice. He's like, I now understand that you may not be the most, like talking to me, you may not be the most, you may not be going professionally or anything, but I know that you have the mentality, what it takes to be professional, and I'm going to take that from you. And that was honestly the greatest thing one of the greatest things that everyone's, kind of said to me, because that kind of affirmed that my competitiveness and my, kind of get on you mentality works for individuals.
You know
like
what?
that.
Before you respond, we're just about out of time.
Fine.
So if you want to do like a part two, we can
Fine.
definitely do a part
Fine.
two.
Okay.
We're just about out of time. But I love that.
That was a great story. That was a great story. I
love
definitely have a response for it, but that was a really good story.
Should I check if we have enough
I think
time
we
to
are
respond?
out, but yeah,
We're
it's
probably
up
out
to
of time. We'll respond in part two.
Okay.
Watch part two.